Hey, what's up, team? I'm Coach D,
I'm Coach Cody.
and we are here to walk you through Chicago Marathon 2025. Let's go ahead and get ready. Let's go dive in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for all of y'all. Awesome. All right, welcome to the Chicago Marathon. Master the miles and own the Windy City. As you can see, I ran the Chicago Marathon back in 2021, and
I'm running it this year. I'm wearing red and not a Chicago shirt.
yeah, so he will have a shirt. His shirt will be blue. No, red.
It'll be red.
Yeah, you guys get that red shirt that has the interesting logo. They're different logos this year.
Yeah.
We'll let you decide what you think. So let's go ahead, dive on in. A little bit about me if you're watching this recording. We're so grateful to have you here. I am Coach D. I ran my first marathon back in 2012, and I really haven't looked back. I've run 20 marathons since then, including 3 times at the Marine Corps Marathon. I'm based here in Washington, D.C. I ran the Chicago Marathon in 2021 during a stretch of the pandemic where I ran 2 marathons, my first 70.3 and 2 half Ironmans, all within 7 weeks. And I believe the Chicago Marathon that year was one of the hottest on records. I actually remember finishing that race, and my mom was with us, and I was like, my back really hurts. And I just kept grabbing my back, and I finished in like 4:18, 4:20, whatever it was. It wasn't my goal time. And I just had a really bad day. And I was like, what is it? I'm like, my back. My mom goes, Danielle, those are your kidneys. I had a Coke and a Gatorade at the finish line. I was a new person. I was like, oh. So even myself, a seasoned marathoner, makes mistakes. It was a warmer Midwest day, and it wasn't hot and humid like it is in DC, but we'll talk a little bit about weather and what to do. So I love the course, even though it was a hot day. They're giving us sponges. Yeah, my personal best in the marathon is a 3:48:54. I just completed my very first Ironman 140.6 in Maryland. So I now am officially also a marathoner and an Ironman. Feels so cool. I've coached hundreds of athletes to the finish line with finishing times ranging from 2:41. Actually, coached him to his 2:41 up to the 7 hours. Your pace doesn't define you. We're all going to be covering 26.2 miles. I'm the owner of Run with Coach D. I'm a full-time personal trainer, and I specialize in running and endurance training here in Arlington, Virginia.
And I'm Coach Cody. I'm a 3-time Boston qualifier with a PR 241. Thank you, Coach D. I am a 2-time Ironman World Championship qualifier. I'm going to my 2nd time this year. I was a high school cross country and track coach. I do that a little off and on when I have time. Love doing it. Love working with youth athletes, which I do with Run with Coach D a good bit. I'm our head strength coach. I manage our Get Strong, Finish Strong programming and developing strength programs for all athletes of all abilities, and trying to keep everybody injury free and healthy and strong for all their races. And like Coach C said, I'll be running Chicago first time this year, so super excited. Hoping to bring that time down a little bit. So
Yep, this will
I'm
be
kind of in the same boat as some of us here.
your second world major.
Second world major.
Yeah.
I did Boston 2 years ago. So looking forward to adding this to the list. Chicago was really, really high on my list. Just the vibe, the energy that I've heard about, how low key it is in a sense too, compared to some of the other ones that we've seen. I know that's saying something if it's a major, but it sounds like it's a lot more, less complex. Let's say less complex doing the race, getting there, getting into our corrals and everything. So I'm really excited.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and look at the rest of our team that helps to support us here. So we just met Coach Cody. We also have Coach Alyssa. She works with our swimmers and our triathletes. And then behind the scenes, making all the magic happen, we've got Miss Rachel. She handles all of our email correspondence. Basically, if it looks really pretty on my website or my Instagram, she's probably made the content. She takes a lot of my word vomit and just makes it into beautiful pictures because I'm a very type A person and I like lists, and she's able to see graphics. So Rachel's also on our administrative team and makes everything happen for us. Today, let's go through a little overview of what we're going to do. Let's go through the mile markers. We're going to chat through race morning. What time should you arrive? What should you enter? Where? What should I wear? All those things, mile by mile. So the cool thing about Chicago is I don't really have to give you a turn by turn because it's literally like 3 turns maybe. So it's pretty simple to kind of mark that all out, but I will say there are some benefits. Oops, sorry, team. There are some benefits to knowing how to break down the race in something digestible to help you during the day to kind of keep it simple. We're also going to talk through a pacing strategy. We're going to talk some general pacing and how to break up the marathon. Most of you right now are going through your long runs and maybe having peak week last week and you're getting into your taper. You might have a couple of sharpening workouts that you're going to be doing. And so you should have been feeling your race day pace. You should have an understanding of what that's going to be like and what it's going to feel like. So we're going to talk through the feeling versus the timing. And then post-race, congrats. Now what? So let's dive in. Ready, set? You guys ready? Let's go for a run, but not so fast. Why? We have to taper. A lot of you might think you're going to run right to the finish. You're probably panicking right now, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose all my fitness. And you are absolutely right. You're going to start decreasing in fitness. If you're wearing garments, it's going to give you a nasty gram. You're probably going to hit this state where it says performance. I know when I was getting ready for my Ironman 2 weeks ago or a week ago, the couple days before it was like telling me that I was in maintenance mode. I'm like, WTF? I'm supposed to be in like performance mode. And you need to throw away all that messaging that your garment's telling you. So right now, 2 to 3 weeks out, some of you might have been doing a 3-week taper and just coming out of your first week. Some of you might be starting your taper, but we really want to make sure that we're embracing this taper in full. What we see when there is an executed proper taper, we see a 5 to 6% improved performance on race day, up to a 15% increase in red blood cell volume, which is how we transport oxygen, so super important. Up to a 5% reduction in cortisol. That's our stress hormone. I'm sure you've heard about it all over the internet now. Everyone's talking about it. And up to a 20% increase in power for a neuromuscular function and strength. And that strength that you have isn't so you can run faster, it's so that you can resist fatigue and maintain the speed that you've built. All right, the next question a lot of people like to ask me is carb loading. Do I need to carb load? Yeah, you do. So why do we carb load? We want to maximize our muscle glycogen storage. This is our body's main fuel for endurance training. At this point, hopefully you've consumed enough content that you know carbs are good. Carbs are not the enemy. We are not using marathon training cycles to lose weight. We are not using marathon training cycles to try and get body composition goals. A lot of you, some of you on this call are now realizing the importance of carbs. And I know some of you hopefully are shaking your head a little bit saying, oh yeah, I felt a huge difference when I was fueling versus not fueling. I think something super important is Cody to talk about his first marathon experience and his lack of fueling and what it felt like. So let's just hear a little bit about why we want to make sure we're fueling.
So even though we're coaches, we make mistakes, so you don't have to make them. My first marathon ever, I ran the Wilmington March Madness Marathon a couple years ago. And basically, I went into it with a lot of, I was an ex-college runner, D1 runner, so there was almost this expectation like, marathon's not so bad. Your runnings are moderately easy pace for a long time. I went out, I ran the first 16 really fast, a lot faster than I should have. I hadn't done a lot of training to be able to hit that for a long period of time either, so that didn't help. I also brought one goo and I didn't have really any water in the first half of the course. So you do the math, that leads to a bonk, and I bonked hard. After hitting mile 16 at a really fun, awesome pace, I ended up dying really hard and going into a walk run, basically up until mile 20, and then just barely crawled in, drinking probably more water in the last 3 to 4 miles than I did for the entire race, just trying to get something in. If I didn't have my friend at the time to help me, I probably would have been completely out of the race. And so I finished, but it was really, really painful. It's still probably to this day the most painful thing I've done in endurance sports. It hurt that bad. And just because I didn't really have any carbs, that was really the biggest thing. I had barely anything. My body was just completely bonked. The thing with that though is like marathon is a race of depletion, and we have to be ahead of that. We're going to talk about it today, but we have to be ahead of our body's depletion of energy.
So we want to start the race with a fully stocked tank. So this is what's going to help you delay hitting that wall. I can proudly say, and I am saying this to brag because I'm very proud of it, I have never hit the wall. In my 20 plus marathons, I've had hard days. Absolutely. I've had weather get in the way of me. I've had undertraining. I've gone into marathons undertrained, but I can very confidently say I've never shared that experience that Cody had where he was crawling. I'm very grateful the fact that somebody early on in my training was like, eat. And I took that to heart. The training didn't always follow through, but I definitely made sure that I was fueling. I mean, with some of my last marathons when I ran, even London, I ran London in April. I think I took 7 or 8 goos down. Even during my marathon at the end of Maryland, mile 18 was like time to take down more goos. And I now track my carbs before, the start of the race. So how much am I eating the couple of days before? Being super conscientious and intentional about my consumption because I know it's just going to pay off during the race.
Funny story, she brought so much carbs, so many things to eat that halfway through her bike in the Ironman, she was giving me food.
Yeah, I got to a point where it was on the run. So we got to the run. I had planned out, this was, what we call intra run nutrition, which is where I'm eating during the race, the performance side of it, not necessarily the carb loading. But when I'm in the race, I actually had a whole extra bag of nutrition that the race officials or the volunteers were just going to end up throwing away. And if I didn't take it. And so I ended up taking it and then finding Cody and my mom on the course and being like, here, take this. And he's like, why are you giving me these gels and all these new Tailwind packets?
Yeah.
And I was like,
And a
well,
bubble bar.
oh yeah, there's a bubble bar in there. And he
Yeah.
was like, why are you giving me this? And I said, well, because they're going to throw it away. And that's like $20 worth of fuel. Like, I'm a little frugal now and I've always been. So I'm like, oh, we're not going to have this throwaway. So I ran like 2 or 3 miles holding this bag at the end of an Ironman because it was worth $20. Anyway, that's just my note to tell you, like, invest in the fuel, have it. You'd better to have it and not take it than take it and then not have it and not be able to take it.
And be cursing yourself when you're hitting that wall.
Yeah. So improving time to exhaustion and performance in events, lasting more than 90 minutes. Like most of us, we should be out there for more than 90 minutes. If some of you are breaking 90 minutes, Guinness World Records seems to be calling you. Athletes who carb load can run 2 to 3% faster over the marathon distance, which is significant when we're talking. This is the equivalent of those super shoes, right? Super shoes can provide up to a 4% benefit. Well, instead of spending $250 to $350 on a pair of shoes, why not just eat? I think that sounds more enjoyable anyway. And to cover that carbon talk, back of the pack runners, mid pack runners, they're not as efficient. You're better off spending more time building strength, building foot strength, than getting into those carbons. Really, we only see carbon benefits in athletes that are running. I think it was like 3:30 and faster, or even 3:10 and faster.
Yeah, significant benefits.
Yeah, that's when you're seeing the significant benefits. You're going to get a greater benefit out of carb loading than you will dropping $300 in the newest pair of what is it? The
insert here.
Fly, whatever they are.
Also, eating's great. It's really fun.
So the question is, how many carbs should you be eating? So as a general rule, you want to be looking at 8 to 12 grams of carbohydrates per kilogram of body weight per day for 36 to 48 hours prior to your marathon. Most marathoners can get away with a 2-day carb load. If you're someone who has a smaller appetite, maybe you're nervous, you have a nervous stomach, like myself, I hold my anxiety in my stomach. I tend to do a 3-day carb load. That works too. You just reduce your carbs per day. It's 7 to 8. Something you will experience while you are carb loading. You will appear heavier. You will feel bloated. Why? Because your body is absorbing more liquid. When we take in carbs, that is going to be like a sponge. So we're going to hold on to some liquid. It is not going to mean you're running slower, but we do want to make sure that we are ingesting enough carbohydrates to have prior to race day. If these numbers, when you calculate them, sound high and you've never carb loaded, okay, do a little more than you normally do. The first recommendation I usually give is just eat a little more. Stick to the foods that you know. You're not trying out there, Googling what are the best carb loading foods. Do not try to eat pasta if you're not somebody who normally eats pasta. I always just said an extra serving of something that you're having. If you eat rice, have a little more. If you eat a banana in the morning, have a banana and a half. If you eat an English muffin, eat an English muffin and a half. So just adding something that your body's already used to is going to help you for those days. In the morning of the race, you want to top off your glycogen stores. So you're looking at 1 to 4. I know that's a broad range. A lot of that has to do with our weight, but it also has to do with how our body can digest food and if you're used to eating beforehand. So this is where you could be playing with it, maybe on your next couple of runs. What feels good? If you are going to be we're going to get to what time to arrive at Athletes Village. If you're going to be there for a while, it might make sense to calculate on the high end and then space out those meals or space out those foods in the morning. As you're getting closer and closer to start time, maybe start, tapering off and not eating as much and then throwing out what you're not going to use.
And that's for your kilograms per body weight, right? So
yes,
taking your body weight, cutting it by 2.2 if you get kilograms.
Yes, so it's body weight. So yeah, easiest math, divide by 2, multiply, shave off a little bit. Does not have to be exact. Let's just remind ourselves of that. Does not have to be exact. All right, race morning. So everything we're going to talk about here is in the participant guide. They do a phenomenal job of outlining everything. One of the great things that I really like about the Chicago Marathon is everything starts and ends in the same area. So there's no point to point. That's most annoying about Boston.
Oh yeah.
So when you're looking at all the majors, they're all typically have a lot of logistics involved. I just ran London. I took like a 60-minute or 90-minute train, I think, out to the start.
It was a process.
It's definitely a process. I made the train by like 3 minutes to get out. I think and we all like crammed in.
Walking you down. I couldn't go down. I had to stay up top. They were not letting other people.
You had to be an athlete. Yeah.
And it was kind of crazy. I remember looking at the maps too to like get there and figure out like the metro stop, and it was kind of a pain.
Chicago, you don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about start and finish and being in different locations. It's all in one spot. Your arrival time and your gate entrance is indicated by your corral. So this I love. It makes it a lot easier. All the majors do a variation of this, just to kind of space out the time that people are coming. You'll have no personal bags. So if you are bringing something, it must be in the clear plastic bag that's provided to you at the expo. So if you are planning on doing a bag check, you will want to make sure that you are using that clear plastic bag, and there is a great, huge area where you're going to be dropping that off. No camel bags. Bladders and hydration backpacks and vests are not permitted. When in doubt, bring a handheld or a waste bottle. So when I ran, there was differencing of opinions about what you could bring in and what you couldn't. 2021, I always run with a handheld. I've always done a marathon with a handheld. I've never ran without one. And when I was going through, I had already filled my nutrition and my water in my bottle. Some of the security checkpoints were having athletes dump out their handhelds. I highly recommend to my athletes that if you're going through the gates, do not put water into your handheld until you get through security, in case you get selected as one of those people that have to dump out your nutrition. I don't know why. I am not the race director. I don't know the logic behind this. I listened to the Allie on the Run podcast last year when she was talking to the race director, and he literally just said on the podcast, it depends on who you get if they're going to let you through or not. And I was like, that's not an acceptable answer, but it is what it is. So just know you can bring in a sealed bottle. They're not going to take that from you. So if you feel more comfortable, bring a gallon of water in for yourself. There is plenty of water on the inside of the village, but if it makes you feel more confident, that could be a way that you kind of get around it. So you can bring in something sealed, but no bladders. Do not come in with the bladder. They will not let you through. You will be turned away, and then you'll have to figure out what to do.
Not fun.
When should you arrive? All right, you're arriving based on your corral assignment. Everybody, in the athlete guide, you will see a breakdown of this. You'll also see it on your online portal, and I believe they emailed it to you as well. We also see it when you go to check in at the expo. Everybody has to collect their bibs at the expo. You have to do it yourself. You'll see that you have to select a time that you're going to pick it up. That is also available in your online portal. Scroll all the way down. It's on the bottom. If you're like some people, you might have missed it. And just filled it out. Again, that's for traffic management. They're not going to turn you away, but it's really just to make sure that there's enough volunteers to assist and that they're well staffed and ready to help all the runners and avoid long lines. But you'll find out that your wave rather, is going to dictate what time you should arrive. Here's an example of wave 3 with your corresponding corrals, your suggested arrival time, but then also what gates you should be entering. This is also something that's really unique to Chicago, is how they have everybody spaced out along the start line. So they don't have you all funneling through one entrance. So pay attention to that. It's going to help ease the morning and make the logistics a little easier. Avoid driving into the city. And I'm going to tell you, the potty lines are going to be long. Going to be long. When I ran it, I was in line with my friend. I didn't have to go. I was just there for moral support. And I ended up bailing on her because I was like, my corral is going to close. I have to get to my corral. And so I ended up just leaving. I was fine. But if you've got up to your first porta potty, just go to the next one. 9 times out of 10, you keep moving, you'll find it. The first one you see are always going to be the most crowded.
I remember this in Boston when we got up to the basically the athlete village area, and basically there was porta potties right as you enter. There's only one place that everybody can get off the bus and go, and literally the line for the porta potty was just insane. And I really had to go to the bathroom bad, so I was like dying. And then you look over behind it, like 300 yards or 200 yards, and there's a other porta potty set. There's not nearly as many people. Everybody was just funneling the first one, so definitely
keep moving.
Stick around. There's going to be more than you think.
And then what should you wear? So race morning, come prepared to hang out a little bit. It might be a little chilly and you don't want to waste calories shivering. Our body is going to naturally start to shiver to try to keep you warm, and don't waste calories. You need those for the race. And now's the time that you want to bring extra clothes. They do a donation. So whatever you don't end up taking, you can discard in your corral and they'll be donated. You can also bring bathrobes and fleece blankets. I think are the best options, especially if you're going to come in and hang out a little bit and eat your breakfast in the athlete village. And second of all, stop obsessing about the weather. It is now, today we're recording this on Sunday, September 28th. I looked at the weather. It's going to change 5 times between now and then. Do not obsess over the weather. Stop wasting calories Every time our mind has to do a lot of thinking, that's calories being burned. Do not waste your talent. Don't waste your time doing it. Look at it the week of so you know what to pack and come with a couple different options, because one thing to also know is if you live on the East Coast and you're traveling to the Midwest, that temperature might feel different than what it feels like where we live, right? Our altitude is different. I mean, if you live where I live, I'm below sea level basically. But it's going to feel different. So come with a couple different options so you can make the best decision that you have for race day. Whew. All right, team. You guys ready? Ready to go for a run? That is an amazing start line photo. Like, I am getting chilled. I hope right now you're looking at this and you're like,
I'm really, really excited. I'm stoked to be somewhere in that. There's so many people. This will be, I don't know if Boston is more or less. I've only done one major, so this will be like my
they're
second
probably all
one.
clamoring to be number one at this point. I don't know. I think Boston's trying to be bigger.
I'm excited.
Or maybe Berlin got it. I don't know.
Maybe.
All I know is when I ran London, they did hit the world record for having the most amount of marathoners, and then they tried to make us pay $15 to get a certificate that says I was part of. I'm like, I already paid.
You have pictures. You already have proof.
Yeah, I was already there, and I'm not paying Guinness World Records $15 to get a certificate.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, thank you. No group projects.
Yeah, exactly. All right, mile by mile. So guys, don't forget, let's start in our assigned waves. Moving to a wave that is faster than you are prepared for will only hurt you.
Yeah.
And starting in a wave that you are not fast enough for is a danger to you and to the runners around you. So there's a reason they're having you start in the corrals based on your time.
Like you saw in the picture, there's a lot of people, and I like not to be braggy, but like I'm usually starting in the front of these kind of races. Not in this is like a different level. But when I do races, and there's some people who everybody looks fast when you get up to the line, right? You're like, oh my gosh, that person, sunglasses over there. But when we start, everybody's going hard, and if you're not going at the same pace, not meaning to hit you, but you will get shoulder checked. You will get shoved a little bit, not again on purpose, but you don't want to be that person getting engulfed. Yeah. So take the chip off your shoulder, push back a little bit if you need to. Better to be further behind. Yes. And again, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So.
Yes. And this is particularly if you put in an estimated finish time, back in June or May when your training was going well, you came off a really strong season, and then maybe life happened, and now you're not going to finish that expected time. You can drop back a wave or two or three, but I would not recommend staying in that wave. You want to be somewhere where you're going to be at with matched athleticism, with matched timing.
And you can be in the back of that. I'm definitely going to be doing that for mine. I'm going to push to the back because I want to make sure that I don't do what we're going to talk about too fast.
All right, so I do have some maps coming up. We're going to talk through them. Every mile is going to have a mile marker, and you're going to want these, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But what's really great is when you first run across, you're going to go over the river, and you have a hard right turn. I'm sorry, left turn. You have a hard left turn. If you go right, you're going towards Lake Michigan.
You're going to go to the water.
Go left, but it slows you down, and that's gonna be really nice because there's gonna be so much excitement. Your first mile is going to be too fast. I've coached hundreds of runners. Accept it. It's just gonna be too fast. Like, don't even panic. Like, just freaking. It's not fine, but like it's gonna happen.
It's gonna feel easy, but you're gonna go fast.
Yeah. But if you train properly, it shouldn't hurt you too much in the long run. Once you come around that left-hand turn, it should slow you down. All right. We're also going to chat. There's a really great time to kind of work on how do we use our water breaks? How do we use these aid stations? In Chicago, you're going to have them about every mile. So you've got plenty of opportunity to use them as a way to kind of slow yourself down, use the water stations as a way to like regroup. But also, this is a great time to really chat about what's the etiquette of coming through an aid station. If you need water, especially in the beginning, be polite to the volunteers. They are out there. They are helping you. A lot of them will have their palms out, with a water cup balancing on it, and they're trying to, get it to every runner that they need. And you don't want to cut somebody off. So I always recommend don't go to the first person. Yes. Go to the second table. Go to the end table. There are some volunteers that are literally standing there with their little cups for like minutes because they're all the way at the end and nobody waits till the end. So if you need a motivator to not take the first cup, help the last volunteer and take their cup because it feels really special.
Yeah. And don't be the guy like who knocks down 3 cups trying to reach for yours. Like do exactly that. Go towards the next one. Exactly. Make sure you don't cut anybody off. We're all running the marathon together. Let's
It's a nice time, especially in the beginning when it's super crowded. So make eye contact. Don't go to the first table and say thank you. And we're going to get a little assistance here from our Olympic friend Molly Seidel. She's going to show us how to take water at an aid station.
Day none. Smell is Molly Seidel. So it's quick clinic on how to drink water, drop it, and keep moving on with your life on our way to a 2:23:07 PR in the 8th place in Chicago.
So even Molly takes water from aid stations, and if you saw her technique, it's the pinch and turn. The worst thing you want to do when you're trying to jog through an aid station is to grab that cup and drink it like it's your morning cup of coffee. It's going straight up your nose. You're going to waterboard yourself, and you are going to choke and cough, and I don't know, a whole bunch of situations. It's not going to be cute. So pinch, rotate the head, slow your pace down a little bit, walk if you need to.
Yeah.
But that's I think a great way. And then discard of your cup closest to a trash can.
If you're like me, I always try to like kind of shoot it into the trash can and see if I can hit it. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But it's a fun little game I play in races, so maybe you can try that too.
Be aware of your surroundings, and let's not jump water cups on other participants.
Other people, yeah.
Yeah.
Just trash cans.
Oh, and also you're going to have Gatorade Endurance as your nutrition hydration sponsor. So you'll have that in each one. So another great thing to call out is asking if you're getting Gatorade or if you're getting water. So they should be yelling Gatorade, Gatorade, but always clarify and ask water, water, to make sure that you're getting what you expect to get. Because if you're expecting water and you get Gatorade, that's a shock. All right, so 5K points. So you're going to have timing mats every 5K. So now you've gone up, you're loosening up a little bit. You can start to settle in. The crowds are amazing, but one thing you're going to notice as you are progressing through this race is your GPS is going to get a little messed up, and you're not going to be able to tell what time it is. Ignore what the paces on this are. I just grabbed a screenshot this is from Marine Corps, because the app for Chicago is not currently available, which I find odd, but it should be available in the next 2 weeks. And it's going to look very similar to this layout where every 5K minus where it says Rock Creek minus where it says Rock Creek. This will have a 5K marker and the half marathon mark. So your friends and family can track you, know what time you're estimated. It's going to be based on your previous 5K as a rolling finish. So if you do start to slow down, it will not know that. So if you start to speed up, it will not know that. It is just going to project it based on your finished 5Ks that you've completed thus far. And you can also get pace bands available at the expo. So if you are somebody who has a targeted pace, if you want to run even splits, you can pick up a pace band at the expo, and it will have your elapsed time that you should be hitting each 5K or each mile marker at. Why this is important is because your cell phone, a GPS signal, all of that will not work properly for about the first 8 to 10 miles. I did a TikTok on this, and I had all my content from when I ran it. I pulled up all of my data, and it's going to bounce around. It's not going to be accurate. So if you were depending on your watch, it's going to show you running too fast. So what I tell my athletes to do and what I prepare for all of my one-on-ones is I will pull up their 5K splits and tell them, okay, by mile 3.1, you should have this much time elapsed. So for this said athlete, if I was their coach, maybe I would have had them go out at an 18-minute 5K. And at the 5K mark, they should be around 18. At the 10K mark, maybe 35:10. Obviously, this person got a little fast, but that's what we want to have. So calculating out what your 5K time should be for each of the initial splits is going to help you far more than looking at your watch and figuring out your mile splits. The other alternative, which you can do as well, is you can do what's called manual lap, which Cody does for most of his races.
Yeah, typically, like I'll just use the mile markers, the 5K markers, because on most of the races, even if I'm not doing something like Chicago, usually my GPS is going to be a little fast, a little slow, especially if there's a lot of people. That's also something we don't think about when there's a lot of people by us. So I will typically just go ahead, lap out a mile marker. Race like this, Chicago, it's going to be like impeccable. So you can trust those mile markers and those 5K markers.
Yeah, so basically what a manual lap is instead of waiting for your watch to hit the GPS mile, is when you come up to the mile marker, you will hit the lap button and it will auto lap and tell you the time that it took you, and that's going to be your mile time. So it might be a little under a GPS mile or over a GPS mile, but it's accurate based on the mile markers that are on the course. So that is something I highly, highly recommend that every person do, regardless of your estimated finishing time, just so you have a target. I figure it kind of shakes itself out around the halfway point. Another option is if you are a little worried about it, download the app for yourself, pull up your phone, check it out as you're running the course. There's nothing that says you can't do that. So that's also another option that I encourage athletes to have. So if you want to have a better idea, or you want somebody to compare your watch to, maybe at the halfway point, take a little walk break, sort it out, compare yourself. All right, now let's dive into some visuals here. So this is your first loop. Honestly, this was just so much fun. It's very narrow. So remember, the race is not won in the first 13 miles. I really want you to consider this to be an out and back. Take in the crowds, begin to settle in. This has a very neighborhood vibe. People are hanging out on their front steps, they're sitting on their stoops, they're doing their daily thing. I remember up at that mile 8, mile 7 area, there's a church up there somewhere, and there were these nuns that had like the best signs. Do I remember what they are now? No, it was 4 years ago. This is also pre like take pictures of everything you do in life. So I don't have as much content as maybe someone who ran it last year. But I just remember these nuns that were out and we're running up into the zoo and just getting in the groove and in the zone. And I just felt, I don't say at peace, but it was so light, it was so easy. Here's another tip we were talking about earlier is like fuel often and fuel early. Something Cody didn't do on his first marathon.
Yeah, because if you don't fuel often and fuel early, if you don't bank energy, basically you're going to not be able to get it down the way you need to for later in the race. So it's important that you start getting that fuel in fairly early in the race. And again, that we're not going out so fast, so we can actually use energy really, really well, or get the energy in our system really well.
Yeah. So in this part of the race, I want your motto to be, if it feels too easy, I'm doing it right. Like, I almost want you to be thinking like, oh my gosh, if people like saw this on Strava, they wouldn't even think I was like racing really hard. Like, this should not be hard. This is, our body's going to be producing a lot of lactate while we're running, right? As we're getting closer to the finish line, our body's going to be super acidic. And all that acidosis, all of that lactate that is building up in our body is going to make us feel fatigued and feel heavy. Don't bring it on earlier than we have to. And it's this fine game of how do I feel versus what's the pace I'm running? Because a lot of times you might have hit all these paces in training, but maybe the conditions are slightly different. Maybe something you ate didn't agree with you, or maybe it's just not the day you're supposed to have, and we get those. And so checking in on that feeling, how am I feeling? Is this pretty easy? Does this feel like an easy long run, or does this feel like I'm working too hard? Does this feel like that threshold workout that I did where I was about to puke at the end of it? Because I don't want to feel that way at mile 10. And so all those workouts you did, I want you to relate them back and let this first 12, 13 miles not feel like a race. And the more advanced you get, we'll talk about this later as well, but the more advanced you get in running, and I talk about advanced and beginner and novice, not in the sense of time, but in the sense of experience. And I'll never forget when Cody and I first started dating, he was trying to explain to me, I was always into endurance long stuff, right? I didn't like the 5K, and which is funny because now I want to chase a mile PR, and who am I? But I'll never forget him telling me, when you start racing hard, you feel like the muscles are tearing off your bones. And I was like, that sounds terrible. Why on earth would I want that feeling?
Really short distances. Again,
Yeah.
like when you're running like the mile, the 800, like there's a pretty high pain tolerance you develop over time.
But I had never ever like thought about something hurting like that. And as I got better at racing, I was like, oh, I can imagine this now. It doesn't feel like death. And I know some of you listening are going to be like, did Coach D just tell us to run like our bones are ripping apart from our muscles? No, she's not telling you that. But the more advanced we get in running, the better we get at being able to propagate and feel the difference between all these different efforts. Because your first marathon is going to be hard, but it's not going to be the same type of hard as your 5th marathon.
I think to go on that too, like the more experience we get, the smaller margins that we can play around with too, like the faster we are. Like good example for like my race, I'm going to be pretty conservative in the first half, and I'm going to cut down a good bit of time just because I'm a fairly fast runner, but I'm not super experienced as a marathoner yet, so I'm not going to play with those margins too much. But looking at like I think it's Gabriel Selassie, I'm trying to remember the run it was, but set a record at Chicago in 2008, and basically negative split. I think their first and second half, and then next year they were just off in Berlin doing also a very fast course. They were just over their time. They were just a little bit fast, like 20 seconds faster than they were the previous year, and died really, really hard. Someone like that, who is a world-class marathoner, one of the best ever, basically is going to be able to play with really small margins. And if they go over, they're going to basically bonk. Most of us, we're immortals, like we can't do that. So making sure we're not playing with those really tiny margins and being a little bit more conservative.
Yeah, we would rather you go out and have even splits are amazing, but most of us are probably going to have some type of positive split.
Yeah.
In some capacity, what we want to do is manage what that positive split's going to be. And a positive split means that the first 13.1 miles is a little bit faster than your second 13.1 miles to the finish. What we don't want to see is a delta of like 10 or 15 minutes. Maybe we see 2 to 4 minutes. Maybe we see up to 5, and that's okay. Like, it's going to happen. And the better we get it running, the more we get at feeling on our bodies, that margin gets smaller until we can eventually maybe flip it over. I remember when I ran the Hartford Marathon, for me, I used mile 15 as my halfway just because the way the course was designed. And I remember telling Cody, like, no, I'm holding till 15. I'm holding till 15. Like, that's when I'm going to make my move. I'm going to just sit and I'm just going to hang out here and let it feel so easy, because I knew what that margin of error, I knew what that split was that I could make to make the switch. And I only knew that because I had run like 10 marathons. So if it's your first marathon, don't even worry about that stuff. Don't get so in your head about it. Think about your easy pace. Maybe pull the easy pace down a little bit, speed in the beginning, and then maybe speed it up if you can towards the end.
I think on top of that too, talking about like how we should feel for the first half, Coach D said workouts we can relate back to. I think it's important to think about what does my marathon pace feel like in that first half? And then as we go further into it, maybe feeling like, okay, maybe this is a little bit of threshold, but not too much, like maybe just touching a little bit. And then you're gonna find those really hard workouts you did. So the interval workouts you did, the really hard 5K, 10K efforts you did, maybe earlier in your training, you're going to find those in the latter stages of a marathon where you're going to really need that strength. So thinking back to those hard workouts later, but thinking about those easy workouts earlier in terms of like how you should feel while you're running a marathon. Oh, real quick, I have one question for you too.
Can't see that.
Going over the lake. So along the lake, did you feel like it was windy at all? Did you experience any headwind, any tailwind, any crosswind that
I did not. I don't recall there being any wind. We had a really warm day. That is something when we talk about the weather that you're going to want to look at for like, a couple days before if there is any movements coming through, because you could feel something coming off that lake, and wind impacts us pretty substantially.
Yeah, it can really slow you down. But that's where also good strategy. Now that you're going to be getting into later stages of the mileage, as you get into miles 6, 7, 8, you might have people coming back to you. You're going to have a lot of people around you. So it might be a good time to make a buddy and try to, if it is windy, cut the wind a little bit. Tuck in somewhere.
Tuck in behind people. Yeah.
Trade off pacing each other. Don't just sit behind somebody the whole time. They don't like that. But cut the wind for someone else, and maybe they'll also do the same thing to help make it easier day for you.
Yeah. All right, so you've come through, you're at the halfway point, you're about to turn right and head out and do the West Loop. This is where my race, I wouldn't say started to derail. Mine was a little bit later than this, but I thought the West Loop was a freaking party. Cody's read online from when he was preparing that it got quiet.
But this is where like the mental game began.
I didn't feel that way. I thought the West Loop, where that little mile 15 area here, this is the charity area. So the charity party block. And then what I loved about this area were the massive merging of cultures, right? So you had Chinatown, you had just all these different blends and just different people just living their lives. It's one thing I really enjoyed about the Chicago Marathon is you were just going through people existing in their everyday. Like, people are coming home from Trader Joe's, people are just like, walking on the side of the street. Like, it's really just you're running with the people. It's so cool. So yeah, maybe that like 25K mark got a little like, okay, because it was really, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, when you're coming down here, you can see everybody over here and you're like, oh, how much further till I get there? But just know it's just a mile out and back. So it's not, and it's close enough to a mile. It's runner's math, mile out and back. But I really found a lot of enjoyment here. I thought it was a lot of fun. I wouldn't get too concerned about it. These are pictures from when I ran. So these are my actual photos that I took. So you can see there are people. The roads are pretty wide. There's a lot of people behind the barricades. So don't get overly concerned about this West Loop being super boring. Remember, our mind seeks what we tell it. And so if you're telling it it's going to be a bad time, you're going to have a bad time. But if you say, oh my gosh, it's going to be a party, you're going to look for people having a party and having a lot of fun. All right, this section though, I do really consider the time to work. This is when you're coming out of the West Loop, you're gonna go south on Halstead, you're gonna turn right on Taylor. And this is when the marathon starts to become real. At this point, the excitement's worn off. You're coming into miles 18, mile 19. For many of you, this might be the furthest that you've ever run. Some of you might have only gotten up to 15 miles in your training, and you're in uncharted territory now. It's scary, and that's okay. But the cool thing is you're going to do it. There's still support. There's still a ton of people here. And I don't want you to think about how far you have to go. Instead of breaking it down and saying, oh my gosh, I still have a 10K. Oh my gosh, it's all this. I know for me, every time I get to mile 17, I yell out single digits, 9 miles to go. And to me, that sounds so exciting. I can just flip my head and be like, ah, it's just 9. And for somehow I can get rid of that 17 miles and I've completely forgotten that I ran them. So instead, break it down to the next water station, the next turn, the next mile. If you're really struggling, look to the crowds. Make eye contact with someone that's cheering for you. Smile back. Tell them, I've got this. And they'll confirm back to you, you've got this. So look to the crowds. There's psychology that kind of proves to us that when we can pull energy from other people, it's that same idea. If you're having a bad day, give someone a compliment. Right? If you're not feeling great about yourself, give someone a compliment, and that's what the energy is going to come back towards you. Same rules apply on the run. If you are having a tough day, like Cody said early in the race, and you needed maybe to find someone to guard the wind from you, maybe you find a buddy here. I've done tons of races where I've never spoken to the individual, but I've run side by side with them. Many of you might have heard my story when I ran the Philadelphia half marathon. And long story short, I was targeting a 145. I ended up starting with a 315, and this other guy and I, because of security issues, it took forever to get through security. He and I, that was a cluster. He and I identified straight from the get-go, we're doing this together. I never spoke to this man the entire race. He and I would make holes for each other, and we would tuck in, tuck out. We'd run side by side. He'd get ahead. I'd pull ahead. I'd make a hole. He'd come through. And we just had this energy together until he lost me at mile 10, because I almost puked, but it's fine. I came back down the hill, met up with him, and then I think I finished slightly in front of him or slightly next. We were right alongside each other. And he came to the finish line, and the first thing he said to me was, thought I lost you there. And here's this person who knows nothing about me, but we just ran cosmically together 13.1 miles. You can do this in a marathon too. You might not ever speak to them. You might not know their name, but you can pull energy together. So if you are starting to struggle here, find somebody else, put a target on somebody and say, okay, I'm going to run to that person. All right, I'm going to run behind them. Another great antidote here. I ran the Emerald Isle Marathon. It was the same one that I ran when I ran Chicago. I ran it 6 weeks after running Chicago. And I was just over marathoning at that point. I was completely done. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I had paid my $95. So I went and did the stupid race. Looking back, I wish I just skipped it. But whatever. I have a great story to tell. And I was in the final 4 miles and I had switched to a run walk. And I was like, this is fine. I'm going to run 4 minutes, walk a minute. Great. And so as I'm going, there's a shadow behind me. And they're literally doing everything I'm doing. And I turned to her and I said, ma'am, if you're going to copy me, at least come up here and be my friend. And she laughed at me, and it was in my sarcasm. It wasn't rude. It was just the way that I get during races. I was like, come up here. And so we chatted and we got through it, and I learned about her story. And at the finish line, she was like, oh my gosh. And I had learned that, it was her first marathon. Her son was there. And I was like, go ahead in front of me. I want you to have the finish line to yourself. And I like stood back and I let her go. And it was a really rewarding moment for myself. And I was really happy that I did it. So you don't know what your friends or people you're going to meet on the course. And typically we find them in this 18 to 22 area. If you are somebody who's running with a time goal, it's a great time to reach out to someone and be like, what time are you going for? And challenge each other. And sometimes you might not even need to speak, right? You can kind of just get a vibe. We have a running mate in one of our run clubs. She ran the Shamrock Marathon, and it was a year that it was super windy. And like, we're talking like 30-mile-an-hour gusts, like real rough. And she and this other woman were just trading off. And I think she was running, it was like 330, 320, something like that. And they just took turns taking the headwind for each other. And it was just so rough. They would take 2 minutes, 2 miles on, 2 miles off, and just give each other that grace, because it was no longer a competition against each other. It was a competition within themselves. And so I think that's also something to recognize, is like, we are all getting across that finish line. None of us are battling for first or second, third, fourth, not even 10th. Okay. So let's be real. We are all out here to do this together. So when you get to struggling in this part, because I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to be a struggle. We rise together. So I want you to remember that when you were getting into this area and you were like, I just don't think I can, find somebody else, grab their coattails. You can do this. You can run on their shoulder.
This is where the more like competitor in me switches a little bit. Yes, all that. But if you're struggling to, remember there are people coming back to you. Hopefully you're not the person coming back at. But basically, if you need to, if you're struggling, or if you just need some pull, pick people in front of you, chase them down, pass them. And when you pass them, I always like to do this in races. I always think it's a really positive thing. Tell them, hey, looking good, looking strong. You got this.
It's rude. That's like driving over somebody and being like, good job.
It helps promote positivity. We're all
As
together.
I'm rolling over you.
Sometimes they'll go with you and then you have a partner. But also, if you're struggling and you just need to pass people, it's okay to pick someone out, pass them, pick the next person, go for them. If you don't want to do that, other really cool thing, Coach D, I think, mentioned this, like runner's math, going by a mile, like knowing she's about to mention a little bit more about it. But pick something, pick a spot, pick a post, anything like out in the street and just run to it, and then pick something else and run to that. That can help keep your legs going and take your mind off your body.
Like a fart leg.
Yeah, a little bit.
So that is mile 25, my friends. My bad day, it resulted in you having this audio. And this is mile 25, just on the left-hand side of that picture there, the gentleman's in a yellow volunteer shirt. Right above that, I believe it says mile 25. This can be the longest stretch of the race. It is literally a turnaround, and you've got Michigan Ave. You're running all the way back. Yeah, the roads open up. It is a straightaway. Depends on how you look at it. I kind of like it because you can't see the finish line, though. Remember that. You cannot see the finish line here. We'll talk about that in a minute.
That's even worse.
You can't see the finish line.
Right.
Well, because it would probably not get any closer. It's the Midwest. Everything's flat. The roads are going to open up. You have a straight shot to the straight-ish shot down to the finish line. And here's where I also want to remind athletes, don't skip that final piece of nutrition. Mile 22 to mile 23, you could be like, oh my gosh, I'm almost there. Don't do it. Don't skip it. Take the gel.
There's no reason to bank it. You're not going to use it for another race tomorrow.
Yeah, take the gel. Take the gel. If it gives you a little extra energy to get through the finish line, great. But this is your final shot as you come around this out and back. Again, this area right here, not the funnest because you can see everyone turning and going to the finish line. Know that it's there. Maybe here's where you practice a little bit of gratitude and you say, I'm so happy that they're having a great race. Look at how strong they look. I'm going to look just as strong as them over there. Maybe that's your mantra, that attitude of gratitude. Or if you need to, I can't wait to catch up with them and crush their souls.
Yes.
All right, so everyone here, I want you to just like take a look at this picture, just stare at it, and then I want you to close your eyes and imagine yourself there. That is the finish line of the Chicago Marathon. That is the skyline in the background, 26.2 miles. That's all you finishing strong after you have climbed Mount Roosevelt. Honestly, it's not that bad.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's not that bad. Everyone on the internet freaks out about it, but here's why it's not that bad. Because they're going to have the road covered in the Chicago Marathon logo. They're going to have photographers on scaffolding above you. They're going to have photographers alongside you. So you can't look bad because it's going to be immortalized in a photo. So you're going to have a great time. You're going to be, it's like going up and on. It's an on-ramp. It's very short. It's not as bad as you think it is. I'm telling you.
For perspective, again, I've never run Chicago, but I did read that it's like 200 feet of elevation total. Like, that's nothing. You'll be fine.
You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine.
If you're from Florida,
it's like going up an overpass. You'll be fine. You'll have so much adrenaline. You'll be fine. But here's the picture I want you to remember. I didn't even give Mount Roosevelt that much space. Notice how what I gave more space to, talking about the course. I just want you to smile big. And I want you to tell yourself, I'm finishing a freaking marathon. I'm going up this hill. I'm turning left. And that is the end of the Chicago Marathon. That is your finish line. All right, let's breeze through. We've talked a lot about race strategy. One of my favorite lines is fast is easy when you're fresh. Of course, the first 10 miles feels easy because you're fresh. No shit. Like, you're going to feel great.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of your pace, I want you to start slower than your goal race pace. Mid-pack runners, I always recommend 10 to 20 seconds slower than your goal race pace. Honestly, depending on your how your skill, right? How many marathons you've run, or just how many races you've done, you might even want to go slower than that. I've had mid-pack runners, and mid-pack is anyone between that like 3:30, 3:45 up to like a 4:45, 5. You might even start 30 to 45 seconds. Back of pack, minimum of 30 to 45 seconds slower than your goal pace, up to a minute. Some of them I've actually encouraged to be a slightly, especially if it's going to get, if it's a warmer day out, one of those factors. So add a little bit slower than race pace. As Cody was mentioning before, the more advanced you are, the more risks you can take. A great example of this is a local runner to us out here in Virginia, Susanna Sullivan, who's actually on Cody, what used to run on Cody's club team. She's based out here in Virginia, and she just ran in the Tokyo World Championships. And if you did not see her race, go look at it. She went out guns a blazing.
It was amazing.
balls to the wall, but she's an Olympic athlete. She has this risk that she can take because she knows what the consequences are. She can live with the consequences, right? Because she knows the choice she made. So if you go out fast, I want you to remind yourself, I made that choice. And sometimes we can do that. And sometimes, I encourage most runners to do that in like a 5K. But sometimes if you got nothing to lose, you got nothing to lose. Because 26.2 miles is a long way. So just being conscious and aware of that is, if you're going to wake up and think you're going to have race day magic and all of a sudden run 30 seconds faster than what you're trained for, that's not race day magic. Race day,
not what you practice for.
no, race day magic is showing up and executing the race you planned for. All right, so let's remind ourselves of that. It is not showing up and having an all of a sudden 30 seconds faster per mile. That's not race day magic. I like to use this race strategy for most people. It's the 10-10-10, which is breaking the race up into 3 sections, miles 1 through 10, 11 through 20, and then final 10K. Because as cliche as it is, at mile 20 is when your marathon starts. The first 20 miles are just a warm up. The last 10K is where your marathon starts. I like to use mile 15 as a good place to gauge for how you're feeling. I always tell my athletes, do whatever you want after 18. Whatever you want.
Yeah, if you feel good, like why not?
9 times out of 10, they don't change strategy at mile 18. So
it's probably not going to be a huge drop of what your marathon goal pace is. If you've ran everything really well and the day set up really nicely for you,
yeah.
Sometimes we just can't control it. I know this is going to be similar to what I do on race day. I'm probably going to be about 20 seconds slower in the first couple miles than I plan to go out, and then I'm going to start to cut down. And then hopefully about that mile 18, 19, I can start playing around with some faster paces. But yeah.
I like to remind athletes that you want to be in control. You want to be the one making decisions for what's going to happen to your race. Don't let the race decide for you.
Mm-hmm.
Which then leads us back to the topic we were chatting about before, which is banking energy. During the marathon, it might be tempting to run fast because you've got energy. I want to use it all.
Mm-hmm.
No, you need that energy for the final 10K. So instead, focus on your first 2 to 5 miles being slower, like we talked about. So slow, you want to hide on Strava. Allow you to reserve energy for the back half of the race. And like we talked about earlier, fuel often, fuel early. Pack an extra gel or 2 or whatever you're using. And if you didn't practice with any gels or fueling and you're like, oh my gosh, Coach C, it's the first time I'm hearing about this, you're not SOL. Bring foods that you know your body likes, tortilla chips, fruit snacks, pretzels. Bring something. Don't wait till race day to test anything. So now it's not too late, but bring stuff you know your body can handle.
Mm-hmm. Get on a couple runs, try it out, see if it works.
Couple things to note for the Chicago Marathon. There is a course limit of 6 hours and 30 minutes. You need to maintain a 15-minute mile to make it to the official finish. Runners that finish after 4 p.m. will not be recorded as official finishers. Chicago Marathon does have an amazing back of pack run group. And there's a woman on TikTok, I cannot remember her name right now, but she's running it and she will not be finishing it before 4 o'clock, but she finishes it. And it's absolutely amazing. And there are people that support her. And there's usually, I think, a crew with them. So I think this year she's asking the Chicago Marathon to at least put like spray paint where the finish line is because the scaffolding and stuff has come down by the time we get there. So they're just going to be removing some of the barricades and things like that. So you'll have to move to a sidewalk. So if you haven't hit it by that certain time and you're not picked up the sweeper, keep going. There are other people out there. You can still cover 26.2 miles. I've had athletes at Marine Corps who have been diverted and they've missed 2 miles during the course. And I'm like, great, walk up almost the finish line, walk back, and then go back up. All that matters is you covered 26.2 miles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a crap if you didn't cover it on the official course.
That's still amazing.
And someone's going to come at me for saying that. But if you listen to me this far, great. Run walk. Don't wait until you cannot run to start using your run walk strategy. Small walk breaks can increase your running economy during a marathon, helps by shifting muscle groups that are working, and brings your heart rate down, which is ideal because that ends up what blows us up is our heart rates get too high. And also we would talk about lactate and the acidity of our blood and our body not being able to process that. Use a run walk. Don't wait until you are forced to walk.
And if you're struggling with the latter half of the race, also being this a very flat course, a lot of us don't get to run in very, very flat places for really long stretches, but that's tough in itself. And we get to kind of use the same muscles, the same motor units over and over and over. That's why hills are kind of a good thing for us because they help us switch things up a little bit. Putting in some small surges, like 10 to 15 seconds, just a little bit faster than maybe pace, and then relaxing for a few minutes and doing it again can help us change up those muscle groups a little bit, make us feel like we're maybe back to where we want to be, back in rhythm. So you can try that as well.
We're not sprinting. Cody just said small
Don't
surges.
sprint, just surges. So we're talking about like 5-10 seconds, like nothing crazy.
All right, we're gonna finish it off here. Finish line, keep moving. The finish line is super crowded. I purposely don't put the medal up here because I'm somebody that I know a lot of people like to protect that and not see that. So if they've released the medal, I haven't seen it, but you will see it most likely at the expo. Collect your bag and then make your way to the family reunion area. The beer of choice, the official beer, is Goose Island 312. You'll be getting that at the finish line. It is the only marathon major that provides a beer at the end of the race. So that is a fun, interesting fact about the majors.
As somebody who doesn't drink that much, and I do have my own non-alcoholic beers that I like to drink. Hopefully, we'll have a non-alcoholic option too. I know that's lame, but
It's not, but we'll see. So grab yourself a beer. Photos, make sure you make plans with your family where you guys are going to meet up. Self coverage can be super spotty. Take time to celebrate your finish and take pictures of the freaking bean. Like, go take your photos, go wait around. Keep moving. That is the best thing you can do for yourself post-marathon, is resist the urge to sit and wait. You might begin to cramp up. Getting up from the ground is not easy, so find something to lean on. Keep your blood flowing by moving. And pro tip, walk downstairs backwards. So if you are going to take the L or something and you're having to come down from the L afterwards, walk down backwards.
we will be taking all the cheesy pictures.
Yes, lots of pictures. So our team wishes you a huge best of luck and great success in Chicago. Remember, the hard work is done. Now's the time to enjoy your race. Let it be hard. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be a blast. Remember, there's nothing new on race day. Do what you have practiced. Nothing new. Run your own race. And if you do need more help and you're sitting here and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, want to get specific, we do race day strategies. So if you are panicking about race day and you're like, I don't know what to do, you can absolutely reach out to us. We're going to have a 15% discount sent to your inbox. If you register by October 3rd, we'll go through personalized race strategies, give you recommendations based on your training, and our coach will review all of your training plans before the call and give you an actionable strategy to use on race day or to get you from now until race day. I'm doing one on Tuesday for a client who's running New York City, and I've never worked with them, but I have all of her data, and I'm going to help her get to New York. So if you know someone, or if it's someone like you, we're more than happy to help. All right, coming to your inbox is going to be a recording of today's masterclass. This is my prep sheet, so I'm going to go ahead and send that off to you as well, and a discount code to your custom strategy. If you guys have any questions, we would love to answer them now. If you are wondering what's next and you already can't wait, you can go ahead and scan this. This is our My Race is Over Now What masterclass that we hosted last November, that you can listen to find out what the heck do you do after a marathon. Now what do I do? You can listen to us yammer on about what that looks like. So you can scan here. I'm also going to include it in our follow-up. So it's great to share with you all today. I really appreciate you guys all being here, and I hope you have an amazing, amazing race. And okay, I wanted to stop recording. There we go. Sorry, I couldn't find the stop record button. So does anyone have any questions about anything we covered? I know I like rapid fire towards the end, but is there anything, and you guys can, there's a small group tonight. I know a lot of people are waiting for the recording to come out. I had a ton of people email me that they couldn't make it. Is there any questions I can answer for who's here? Did I rapid fire through anything? Did I miss something that maybe is important that I should have added? I'm very happy to expand on anything. Everyone's like, no, Tanya, what's up?
Hey, I was curious what your recommendation is. So I saw that they have like Martin's fueling out on the course, and that's what I usually fuel with. And I think it looked like they had something around mile 18.
There are two aid stations that are going to have fuel. I think
Okay.
it's 18. I think you're right. It's right when you go into the West Loop, and then there's a second opportunity. It's like maybe 15, 18. I think there's two opportunities for Martins. Here's my rule. I take everything I expect to use. And if I happen to pick up an extra gel and bring it home with me, great. And I do that because I have trust issues. Let's be real. I have trust issues. I want to make sure that what I'm planning to take, I have, and I don't have to depend on somebody else.
It's better to be prepared and be able to get something a little extra than try to rely on the course. You just never know what can happen race day.
Right. Okay.
I have a friend who he does how many gels he can get back from a race.
It's a good game to play.
So he tries to see how much money he can make off the race. He just basically tries to come out net. So if he goes in with 4 gels, he wants to come home with 4 gels. So it depends. I would not back of pack runners. Majors typically don't run out. I have not experienced that. There have been, smaller races will run out of water. I think the DC half ran out of water here. But I would not be overly concerned about not having enough water. I would not be overly concerned with not having enough Gatorade. You may find that the tables are a little less filled, meaning that you might have to wait to have a volunteer pour a water cup for you or something like that. But yeah, no, that was a great question, Tanya. All right. Any other questions I can answer for today, or Cody can answer? What's up, Erin?
Hi guys. This is kind of nitty-gritty, but I know you mentioned about bringing potentially like clothes or a blanket or a bathrobe, something like that. When you are kind of getting rid of that right before the race, is it just kind of like a throw on like the barricade type thing next to you, or is there like where do you put it?
Yep. Nope. That's a great question. So there will be, there should be actual not like trash cans, they're like rims that have like a giant clear bag in the bottom that you can toss your clothes into. But then as you're in your corral, you will see a ton of people that are just placing them on the barricades themselves. At least when I ran it, that might have changed over the years, but there will be clearly marked areas where you can discard. Also a really great point for if you're running the race and say you take a gel and there's no like trash receptacle near you, you're not taking it at an aid station. Don't be that person that like throws and discards your item where they're probably going to have to backtrack and go pick it up. So let's say you wear your sweatshirt while you're running. Maybe you start the race with your sweatshirt on. I would dispose of that at an aid station. I would get it somewhere where there's race directors or volunteers are going to be picking things up. You'll notice towards the end of the race, people might be putting down their gel wrappers around a mile marker, but you want it somewhere where people are going to be going back to collect things.
I remember doing something like that in Boston, where I had to discard some arm sleeves because it was a little bit chilly in the morning. I had like arm sleeves and gloves I just threw out in an aid station. But like you saw, Aaron, in Boston too, like going along the sides, you just kind of put them there, like along the fencing, the barricades. And I think Indianapolis Monumental.
I think it's just on barricade.
Yeah, I remember I think down the corrals, people were just putting clothes on and they were collecting them. So
yeah, they'll have volunteers out to do that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, guys. That makes sense. And one other one, Dee, you said that with the water bottles on your handheld, how like pouring it out. What about, because like I usually use that high carb mix that's like in a big bag. Would you recommend just like not putting even like the high carb mix in my water bottles?
Yeah, I wouldn't mix anything you weren't willing to lose.
Okay.
So yeah, I wouldn't put like, if you're gonna sit and play like especially with the high carb, I need to like shake it up a lot. Like you might have to sacrifice like a blender bottle to bring it with you, right? So you bring in a blender bottle because you have to shake. High carb, it's great, but it sucks for like mixing stuff because you need to have, So like what I would do is I would probably bring in either an old tumbler or a blender bottle or something that you can then, have your high carb mix in a little Ziploc bag, dump it all in, put the water in, shake it up, and then put it into your handheld and then dispose of the blender bottle.
Do you think that would make you dump it if you have it just like in your bottle already?
Yes, that's what they were making people
I mean,
do.
not like with water, but just like the powder in there, no water.
No, they're not gonna make you toss your powders. So if you want to so the high carb mix, this is a very, very specific question. If you're using a high carb mix, they typically, you have to like layer. You don't know this because I've usually do your water bottles.
Yeah,
you have to you have to like put a little bit of mix, water, shake, a little bit of mix, water, shake. If you're using just standard nutrition, like liquid nutrition, like a Tailwind or just regular Scratch or Precision, I can't think of all the other ones that are out there, but if you put your powder just in your bottle and then you add water once you get through Athlete Village, I wouldn't see that as being an issue. Yeah.
Okay.
Making it difficult, Aaron, with all your fancy high carb mix.
I know.
I've got other people doing it. And Chicago's the only one that's weird that they don't have like set rules. Like it's very, like if you go back and listen, if you're a podcaster, go back and listen to Allie and the Run. She interviewed him. It wasn't this year's episode. This year's wasn't that great. If you listen to last year's, like he literally says, it depends on who you go through. And you're like,
that's not a good answer.
That's not helpful.
Why are we just picking people and then randomly just like destroying their
make a rule, like yay or nay. Anyway.
So is it no to vests or no to vests with bladders?
With bladders.
So you can wear a vest if you ditch your bladders.
Front flasks, and your flask cannot be filled.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
No bladders. I don't know.
No bladders.
No bladders. And did I see people with bladders when I ran? Yeah, I have a video of one, but like, let's not bank on that. I was looking through old videos and I found one and I was like, well,
So if your handheld is like more of a bladder style,
That's fine. They just don't
okay,
want a backpack with a bladder. If you
got
have like a soft flask, like a Nathan
yes,
soft, yeah, you're
yeah,
fine.
yeah, okay,
Yeah,
all
they
right,
just don't want I don't
Like
know
a
why.
camelback.
They don't want like a liter of water on your back.
got it.
I would love to know the reason, but
That's weird.
I mean, I know the reason. Don't come at me for that. But, like, I know the reason, but like no other race has that. So
Yeah.
we've all gotten away from that. Cool. Any other questions that we can answer? No. All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you guys for showing up and listening.
Thank
We
you guys.
appreciate it. This was fun. I got to put on my Chicago
Yeah.
shirt. Haven't worn this in a long time.
And I have to put a red shirt on.
But all right, awesome. We wish you guys the best of luck. If you are my athlete, I will hopefully see you. I got all your emails, so thank you. I will be emailing you back. But if you have any additional questions, concerns, feel free to reach out to me. Oh, Brian's gone now. She's Coach the athletes. Yay! I'll hopefully see you guys. Brian's like, peace. I'll hopefully see you guys next weekend. I'll definitely be on course. I'll send you guys more detailed of where I'm going to be standing. I had to do all the math to find out how I can see him and see you and all the things. So I'll send that out for sure.
Actually, also interested in the best spots to stand for spectators
Ooh,
that are
so-
tracking athletes.
Oh, good call.
Yes. So only reason I didn't include this is you can get so in the weeds on this one. It's so specific to like who is spectating. Do you have kids? Do you have a bike? There's so many things. Like what's your mobility like? So like my mom when she spectated saw me at mile 1, a little over 1 at runner's right, and then like a little before 3 at runner's right, and then she saw me again at like mile 13. Because if you look on the map, they just run like same latitude, straight across, and it was pretty easy. For Cody, I'm probably gonna hop on the L and do some popping around, but I gotta like see how much time it takes to go between stuff. I also might just grab a scooter. In my head, running always is easy, but I know it's not a good idea. So I'm going to probably hop on a scooter or hop on like a city bike or something. But for really easy logistics, like just short of 1, just short of 3 and 13 are like easy. And my mom also, and I say my mom to give you like perspective. My mom, she runs and stuff, but she also made it to mile 18, I want to say. She made me right after the end of the West Loop. I think I saw her. So those were 4 viewing points. She did not go to the finish line. We avoid finish lines because it's ridiculous. I might see him at the finish line because it probably won't be crowded then, but I usually tell people to avoid the finish line. Try to see them at like mile 25 or something and then walk your way, and hopefully you'll be through the finish line chaos by the time the person gets there. But it also depends on like what you need. I think that's also that's why it's so personal. It's like, what do you need? And also make sure you communicate if you're going to be on runner's right or runner's left.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I don't go into the weeds on that one. People keep asking me on TikTok about that from Marine Corps, and I'm like, God, it's.
Come hang out with us in Marine Corps.
I don't know. It's too niche. Like it really depends. Like, do you have kids, dogs? Do you have a bike? Like, how much do you want to work that day for it?
Yeah, you can get a lot of distance in.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a spot that you think is good for meeting up with like family after? Is that kind of another like super specific question that probably just
Yeah, so
no.
there is like the athlete like meetup area where you have all of like the posts that are by like last name, right? So you can find each of the letters. That was pretty easy to find. My mom's phone was dead though, so I have a really bad experience with that because I told her phone was gonna die, and she's like, "Be fine." I'm like, "No, your phone's gonna die." So her phone died, and trying to find her, there was already no cell service. Like trying to find her in the park was ridiculous. If let's put it this way, again, you have to know what you want, like how you are. If you know you're gonna finish and you're just like, I'm done, I don't want to think, I am over it. Maybe you just walk and go meet your like last name, right? Maybe you just go there. If you're like, no, I know I'm gonna be pretty good and I want to get away from crowds, that's me. I'm like, get me the F out of here. I would probably align to me on something that's like a block outside of the family reunion area.
That's a good idea.
Like I would look, let me see.
Maybe like a restaurant or something.
Yeah, I think I told one of my clients like meet at a Starbucks. Just gonna pull up the map really quick. Like I think I told her because she asked me this question. I was like, look at the Yeah, I was like, look at the finish line area. Is that it? Field Museum. I'm in the wrong park. Where the hell is the park? Okay, there it is. And I was like, maybe you just like go a block over and you go to like, what is this street? Like off of Michigan Ave, or even walk another block to like Wabash or something. Wabash, yeah, Wabash. It just really depends on how you are as an athlete, like how much support you need. But you also don't know how your day's gonna go. So
Yeah, that's true.
that.
But you brought up another good point of just like having like my spectators, or at least Nick, to bring like a power pack, like a juice
Oh,
pack.
100%. Always travel with extra power. Or at least travel with a charger. So that way
Yeah.
if he can stop in at like that's something to a restaurant or something, charge his phone.
Cool.
Yeah, always have an extra charger. Because again, you're in a city, so your phone battery is probably going to die faster. So it's probably reaching for service at certain points. So just keep that in mind too. I mean, also depending on like where your hotel is, it might always just be better to be like, I'll meet you back at the hotel. I'll meet you at the Bean. Again, a lot of it just depends on like how you expect to feel at the end of the race. And you could also just like change gears once you get there. But like I said, the cell service was not spectacular, and it's very crowded. You come out of the finish area, you turn right, and you end up in there's like the beer and the medals behind you, and then you're back at where all the check bags were. And so you as an athlete can even use that as a regrouping area, because I thought that was a lot less inhabited versus the rest of the areas. Like when you turn out, this whole area is like a fountain in the middle, and like there were not a ton of people. I randomly bumped into my friend. Like I was like, how did I find you here? And he's like, I'm just dying. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he had finished in like, it was Ryan. He finished in like 3:15 or something. And I was like, oh, you're still here after an hour. That sucks. But like sat down with him. And then when I went to go find them, it was just like a sea of human beings in the next field over. So I hope that doesn't scare anybody, but that was my perception of it. I was like, get me out of here.
Thank you guys for hosting this. Really
Yeah,
helpful.
no problem. Awesome. I'm so happy you guys are in the taper. I'm done, so I don't have to do anything. But no, I'm really excited for you guys. It's a great race. Out of all of the majors I've done, it is probably still my favorite. I've done Berlin, I've done Boston, I've done Chicago and London. And it probably still ranks as and then my all of my 20 marathons is probably still like top 5. It's a great race. We will look at weather ahead of time. I'll tell you what your adjustments are. Tanya, I'm going to get adjustments for you running all of those mountains. So don't worry about that, but just deep breath. You've done the hard part. Now the harder part is recovering and not stressing out about running. So good luck. Yes. Yes. And you get some time back, but don't waste that all cleaning. Cool. I'm going to let you guys go. Get ready for bed. Start your taper, your recovery, and I will chat with you all before race day.
See you guys in Chicago.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.